Hey, what's good? My name is Crossword, and you are now tuned in to the Encore Radio Show.
The views and comments expressed on the following radio program by its hosts and their guests do not necessarily reflect the views of...
Phone calls outside there, customer on its way, passengers till I pass away, lifestyles of the rich and fake, wasted drugs in an ashtray, smoking loud in that cascade, showing out in that ballet, these are lifestyles of the rich and fake.
I'm trying to get a Bushini account. My outfit probably talking more than your rent is about. I'm spending money just to make it, we getting it out. But that's the hustle, nigga, guess I just figured it out. Gold on my neck, goals on my check, holes on my dick, balls on the net. Niggas think I rose from the dead, put the pressure in, they fold under that. But for niggas only trying to join the code for the DAC, no flash. Doing shit that never was possible in the past.
Good morning, folks. Thank you guys for tuning into the Encore Radio Show. It's Wise Soul sitting here, as you guys heard, with Crossword. Man, honestly, I have a ton of questions, so I'm not even sure where I want to start. Let's start with this one. You are Iranian and Canadian.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. So obviously, I'm from the U.S. The Middle East is not seen as, it's seen differently as then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know from like a fact and B from people I know out there. It tends to unfortunately get lumped into this one big pot. You know, I have a friend from New York who she's Bangladeshi, and if you know anything about anything, like they're not like Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
But get confused for like
they are all lumped in.
Yeah, all lumped in and get like, especially after 9/11, things are really stressful, and it's like. Another example is how the treatment of Sikhs in the U.S. I mean, like, it's insane. Like, they're not even close. Like, they wear turbans. First of all, Muslims don't wear turbans.
At all.
Like, and people will think like, A, Muslims wear turbans.
Yeah,
and B,
ignorant.
they think that like Sikhs are terrorists. It's like, yo, they're not even Muslim. Like, I mean, not to equate. I'm gonna clarify, not to equate Muslim with terrorists, but it's like, if you're looking for Muslims, then you're not looking for Sikhs.
Yeah, not at all.
But they get lumped in, right? So again, terrorist is a misused word. It's a abused word because it's not used in proper context when people who are not Muslim commit atrocities.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to. Right off the bat, we're not going to associate Muslim with terrorists.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, right now, people are confusing non-Muslims for Muslims and like also confusing Muslims for terrorists.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like one thing that I found kind of interesting in how you said it was you said I'm Iranian and Canadian. We don't really put it that way in Canada.
Okay.
It's kind of like the way I write it out is the way I say it. I'm Iranian Canadian. So it's kind of just like recognition of both. It's like I'm in Canada. So I'm Canadian. I'm also, my background is Persian. I'm Iranian. And I could be anybody. It's like, I feel like, you could be Jamaican Canadian. You could be Egyptian Canadian. You can be native indigenous Canadian. All that stuff. I feel like in Canada we definitely have this recognition of where we're from, while at the same time where we're at, which I feel like a lot of other places in the world, everywhere in the world, is pretty much like there's a lot of this like, what else are you against us? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you can't be German and Turkish. No, you're either German or Turkish. You can't be American and Trinidadian. You're either American or Trinidadian. What are you?
Exactly.
Right? So that's one thing I like about Toronto specifically, because we have so many cultures out here. The rest of Canada, not as cosmopolitan, but here in Toronto we have that, and we got to recognize.
So why do you think Toronto? I mean, aside from the fact that obviously there's because look, I live in New York, and we have a very similar mix, if not a bigger mix or whatever. We are the quote unquote melting pot, right? At the same time, New Yorkers. I mean, New York is a little bit different, but the U.S. in general, they're not as inviting as our northern neighbors. So why do you think that?
I think it's really history. We don't really have much of it here.
Okay.
You know, I mean, if you look into it, and you don't have to dig too deep, you can see a lot of fucked up shit that can I cuss? I can cuss.
Yeah,
right?
you can. Yeah.
All right, a lot of fucked up shit that Canada's done all around the world, like it still does. You know, like it's kind of messed up. It's like there's on the surface, Toronto is very inviting, and like I feel like the reason for that is the history. It's like we don't have like, you know, people mad at each other for like, you know, slavery and like abuse, like real shit abuse that happened on our turf. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that history isn't quite there. I don't want to act like Canada's like some kind of patron saint of shit. If you look at like, you know, Canadian companies that don't have any respect for human rights, but they just operate abroad, like mining companies, gold mining companies in South America and Africa, like no disregard, complete disregard for human rights. Even in Alberta, complete disregard for environmental health. But like they're still doing this shit. So you know, Canada's no saint, but I feel like on a very real level of like, at least in Toronto, of communicating with each other. You know, I mean, I grew up with everybody. We just grew, especially if you go to public school, you grow up with everybody. Even in private school, like you grow up with people of all different cultures. So it's like, it's not even like a, oh, I'm here, you there. Let's not. We can't talk to each other.
I've been telling everyone this, whatever, and I think 2020 is gonna be a different year. It's gonna be a different time. Like, 2020, 4 years from now, you know, so many things will have changed. So much more people on all sides in general will be so much more aware. I think a lot of it at this moment right now is ignorance to an extent. Like, and I don't think anyone should be ignorant, because if you look at it, we all have cell phones. Google is right there.
Right.
The internet is right there.
Right.
If you have access to information and you choose not to use it, that's on you.
Right.
You know, so being blissfully ignorant doesn't fly in my book.
No, I mean, I feel like honestly, the internet's just it's also a double-edged sword too. Everything is, you know, everything is too. You know, because like you see mad people like just posting up misinformation all the time, and it's like, is really even who do you trust? It's like you know, Wikipedia is a very good resource, but at the same time, everyone can access it. So if you're reading information that has been biased, you know, has some biased input in it, you know, like there's moderators, sure, but like if someone's just sitting there from like Fox News and like, you know, replacing everything with their own bias, then you know, like it's what are you really getting, right? So I feel like honestly, sometimes the best place to go is the library. You know, just literally kick it old school.
You guys go to the library here?
There's a great library right down the street, man.
Really? Okay. Yeah, our libraries are very dusty at this point right now.
Sometimes, you know, I mean, I think ours are too. Like ours are definitely like evolving. You know what I'm saying? Like the computers are definitely a big part of them now. I don't know if they give out Wi-Fi codes yet, but like they're definitely adapting. They have to. But I just do feel like in every arena, like an authority is kind of needed. It's like yo, this is right. Like you gotta kind of like there's certain amount of regulation that's needed to be like, hey, you know what? Like, okay, there's a lot of stuff out there. We kind of found a few things that we trust. You know what I'm saying? And again, the bias has to be removed from that equation, because then you put bias in there, then you start getting stuff like some of these like messed up textbooks we're seeing that like you know, like I don't know, I heard about in Texas they got a textbook that says like slaves were actually not slaves and they were happy to be there.
They were sharecroppers and they were happy.
Like some bullshit like really, that. Like, so I mean, like, you know, obviously you gotta have and other shit about like, you know, oil companies like funding textbooks. You can't have that. No, like what the fuck? You know,
you cannot have this. You can't have business in part of education because they're not gonna want to make them. They're not gonna want to portray themselves in the real light that they actually are. You know, if they made a mistake, you should be able to own up to that, whatever, and own up to why you did it. Right. You know, but of course not.
Instead they're just apologizing for it. And,
you'd be lucky if you even get an apology.
I mean, yeah, right. Textbooks are like textbooks. Sometimes they can be very a half-assed like apology. It's like, yeah, we did this, but we're better now. Yeah. It's like, yeah, we might have fucked over the indigenous peoples of this land, but we're not doing it anymore. Yeah. And it's like, but yo, the shit that you did is like still like trickling down into like what society is now.
An
like
issue something that you may have done 200, 300 years ago still has effects on those. just look at it. You know, like even like Indian, like we have Native Americans, which I think is a foolish name, so I'm gonna go with the indigenous as well.
Yeah.
You know, we have indigenous people that live on reservations. You know, those reservations are full of real problems.
Right.
Real, you know, joblessness and alcoholism is like a huge problem on indigenous reservations in the U.S. and it's just like it's overlooked completely.
It's the same story out here, man. It's the same story, and it's like, you know, that's why art is so powerful. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just no matter where you're from, like your story is valued.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like that's the approach that I take, at least. You know, like I don't want to hear about Beamer Benz and Bentleys 24/7. Like I want to hear about that, you know, maybe an hour a day or something like that, just to kind of motivate me a little bit. But apart from that, like, you know, I really genuinely want to hear, like, give me your worst, man. Give me your most fucked up. Like, tell me how you feel, man. Like,
exactly.
That's what I really want.
Exactly. So at Crossword MC,
Yeah.
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah, we're working on Instagram right now.
Okay.
You know what?
We all are.
I mean, here's the thing. I was Team BlackBerry for the longest time.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, like, BlackBerry Curve. I never, like, even when they, like, you know, they got the new CEO and they, like, switched up and tried to make it more, you know, more like accessible to millennials and shit, and start getting Instagram on there. I still didn't have that one.
Oh, wow.
I had the older one.
Okay.
It was a great I loved it.
Absolutely.
But,
I have one too. I believe you.
Like this. I got some cracks on my phone. I'm pointing at them right now.
Yeah.
This business would not have happened on my BlackBerry. I'll tell you that much. But for that reason, I was late to the Instagram game, and somebody already has my handle. But I've been getting some good advice. I've been getting some good advice from people to be like, yo, because they haven't used their Instagram in years, right?
Yeah.
So if they don't use it, and you got more followers, which I do. Like, I don't got a lot, but I got a few. Then they're like, yeah, you can totally like challenge that to like Instagram.
You know what's funny was that so I challenged Facebook to give me my name, and I got it.
Okay.
Right? Now at the time, Facebook didn't own Instagram, so I tried to challenge Instagram for the same thing, and they said no. I did the same thing with Twitter, and they said no too. So that was like 4 years ago now. So I'm gonna try again.
Yeah.
All I've been doing, I've just been spamming them like every day or every other day, just to kind of see.
And they're just not responding.
No, it was no. Doesn't work.
Yeah, because I did hit the person up. I did hit. I believe it's a female that has my name on Instagram at Crossword MC, but I don't believe she raps. So I'm like, why are you Crossword MC? Like, what does the MC stand for? Is that maybe your first and last initial? I don't know, but like, that's cool. You know, maybe, you know, Mariah Carey's first and last initial. Maybe it's Mariah Carey, and that's why I can't get it.
She's trolling you.
She's trolling me.
She's trolling you. All right, so let's talk about the Canadian hip hop scene for a second.
Yeah, let's do that.
So you've been to the U.S. and you've hit a couple states, whatever.
Yeah.
This just in 2015 alone.
Yeah.
Right. Those scenes obviously are significantly older than the scenes that you see here or you see in New York or some of those other states, right? So what's the most glaring difference between those scenes over there and the scene here in Canada or Toronto?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the history is there. You know, New York via Jamaica is where hip hop started.
Tell them.
No, but New York is where hip hop started, and you know, Toronto's got a deep hip hop history, but unfortunately, it's not a consistent hip hop history.
Fair enough. Okay.
And Toronto's, we're a new city. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the history is really not there. So like, we're really the first generation. I'm a first generation Canadian. We're really the first generation that's like,
I keep hearing
that's got that like that Canadian. You know what I'm saying? Like at the forefront, rather than like our background or whatever. So you're really getting this more consistent sound now.
Okay.
And you're getting more people on the same page of all different cultures, right? Because it was our parents that immigrated here, and it was them that still had the culture from their culture from before. And now we're the ones who are really creating. So it's like urban culture, not even urban, just multicultural. Wasn't really a focus for a long time in Toronto, because frankly it's old boys club type stuff, like a lot of you know, very white, because that's who had been in Canada for all these years. You know what I'm saying? Like, not to discredit all the people who have been here, who waves of immigration from time, right? Like, we've had, you know, Japanese Canadians from time. Like, you know, we had again, going back to ugly history, we did have the internment camps. You know, during World War II. Same as
we had them in the US as well. Yeah.
Same as the US, right? So it's like, so not to discredit that, but I feel like as on mass, like mass population of people of various ethnic backgrounds is definitely, this is the generation for it. So now you're starting to see, you know, not only are we into hip hop and do we resonate with hip hop and do we love hip hop, but like we're actually making it, and we're making it at a high clip, because before it was just a few cats, and then the rest were just, you know, the rest were making music, but like maybe it was more reflective of their own cultures. And you know, you look at Cardinal, he's always had a heavy West Indian influence in his music. And I think, unfortunately, in Toronto and Canada, there's a bit of like a inferiority complex to America when it comes to like, it's got to sound like that. You know? So I feel like Cardinal was a bit ahead of his time, because he kind of got shafted for that. Because people were kind of like, I think in general people were just kind of like, oh, he's dope, but it doesn't sound like that New York shit. It doesn't sound like this. It sounded different, and it's like, that's a great thing. But you know, maybe now we're more accepting of different, because there's more of a pride. You know, there's more of a pride in like, yo, this is Toronto, and maybe it's not one person doing it. Maybe it's like a whole, you know. But hey, shit, shout out to Cardinal for being ahead of his time.
Absolutely. You know, the one thing I as much as I didn't like this particular era, having the scene shift from New York to the South was needed, because then we had the opportunity to hear what's happening in the South, and having the South run things for you know 6-7 years or whatever it was. And then, you know, now it's like, I would say that it went out west for like 3 years, and then now it just, you hear almost everything on a regular basis. I mean, I guess, seeing that my situation is a little bit biased, because like, I don't just listen to the radio. You know, a lot of my work is in the indie hip hop scene. So you know, I'm hearing things from Chicago. I'm hearing things from Wisconsin.
Right, you know? Right.
I'm hearing things from all over. So I really have the opportunity to think. So I gravitate more so to the Toronto scene, hip hop scene, because I am West Indian, and I am American as well. So I to hear the sound, it sounds like something that I would do if I was an artist, which I'm not. But it's not something that I would do, you know. But you are also an artist as well. So talk a little bit about your artistry, whatever, and things that you talk about in your work.
Yeah, I mean, I just you know, as my name suggests, Crossword, I'm very definitely into lyricism and trying to make the words count. You know, I'll even prioritize that maybe over flow sometimes, but you know, it's all trying to get everything at the right time. You know, having that flow, having those bars, having something to say. And so I just try to talk about myself, my history. I'm a, you know, like I said, first generation Canadian. You know, growing up in a new country that had nothing to do with my parents. So it's like, I was an outcast, like just right off the bat. You know, like, I have nothing. I had no family, nothing. Like basically everything I gleaned was, you know, through my own like findings and shit, right? So
see, and I understand that.
I feel like that's a story that a lot of people understand.
Because even not in America. In America, I'm legitimately an outcast almost everywhere I go. Period. So, you know, that's why I really appreciate this scene here. It's pretty dope. It really is dope. I gotta say that.
I'm just like, be proud of that shit. You know, like I think it's a lot of like it's taken a lot of being comfortable with myself and who I am and what my story is. You know, like, it's honestly, when you haven't been steeped in a culture, you don't really even know what your story is. Like, you don't even really know like what you're about. It's so it's taken a long time to find that, but my goal is to hone in on that and to kind of tell my story, and at the same time telling my story, to still be provocative, to still be, you know, be a little out there, whether it's with the flow, whether it's with the beats selection that I choose. My producer Justin Limited, who's a co-conspirer, he's just always, I can't even describe his beats, man. Like, it's just like, he's just on his own shit, man. Like, he's, you know, and again, like, I think all our backgrounds kind of play a part. You know, so like, I'm Persian, right? And if you look at like ancient Persian poetry, if you really look at that, it's all metaphorical. It's like all like, it's really out there. You kind of read that shit and you're like, you gotta think like 3-4 times about what the fuck they're actually saying. Like, I'm talking about like, you know, Hafez, Rumi, Sadie, like, you know, Omar Khayyam, like all these guys, like they were all like speaking bare metaphors. And I feel like that's really my style. Is like sometimes I can't even help it. I'll be like, I'm gonna be the most straightforward as possible with this bar, and then it'll still turn out like some like abstract metaphorical shit. I'll be like, I'll read it back and be like, yo,
who's gonna get
what
that?
am I even saying? You know, it's like I kind of feel like I don't feel like I'm alone in that. Like Ghostface, he's gone and been like, someone's been like, what do you mean by, I think he's been asked like still, well, what do you mean by this bar? It's like, I don't know, man, it made sense at the time. Like, sometimes my bars be like that, you know?
gotta sit down and, you know, as you're writing it, like, okay, well, this is what I mean. So just in case anyone ever asks me down the line, I was talking about this particular thing. Gotta annotate your own lyrics.
Yeah,
basically.
I gotta, that's like rap, that's like
genius.
Rap
Yeah. Shout out to Rob Markman, man. Really real dope dude. All right, so you are, I just say you are an artist or whatnot. So not only do you see the scene from that side, but you also see it from the curator side.
Right.
You have a chance to build creatively with the same artist that you're actually putting on.
Yeah.
So do you think that gives you like a competitive advantage from other artists who don't curate?
No, not at all. I feel like curating is my plan B.
Okay, fair enough.
You know, I feel like everybody's got one. I feel like everybody's got it. You know, plan B is kind of like a mockery of the term. I feel like it's my secondary trade. It's my like,
fair
or
enough.
Not even secondary, sometimes but primary. I really try to separate the two. I try to be like, yo, if I'm an artist, I'm going like whole hog as an artist. If I'm putting on a show, I'm putting my all into that show. And I try not to collude them because, you know, I've done it before and it ends up half-assing. You know? So like I've been that dude that like puts on like 2 shows a year and puts myself on all my shows. Like it, you know, I feel like it's not as fulfilling, right? Yeah. Where I do feel I have a competitive advantage, but it's my competitive advantage, and it's not to say that others don't have their own. Is, you know, I've been putting in work as an independent artist for years. I used to be in a band that took 4 years of my really prime creative life in my you know, early 20s was just focusing on that band. Through that work, you know, I learned how to tour. I learned how to book tours. I learned how to tour. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be talking to people, like, I'll be like, yo, so, okay, you've never been on tour before, right? And I'm like, all right, how much tea do you drink? You better start now. Because I've been through that. Like, I've been through that. My competitive advantage is my experience. Like, my first tour was a 6-date, 11-day tour. Like, and that's nothing, right? And I lost my voice by the end of it. Yeah, I believe that. Right? I'm surprised you didn't lose it. I mean, that being your first tour, I'm surprised you didn't lose it halfway through. I actually did. See, there we go. Okay. It just happened. It just so happened that by the last day, I just had no voice. So I was like pretty much like lip singing without a backing track. So that, you know, like, I mean, you learn things, right? And through my travels as well. You alluded to that. Last year, I had the opportunity to go to A3C in Atlanta. And over there, just like being in an environment where everyone's just trying to help each other, which is really what I felt it was. I'm not gonna lie, I heard some horror stories before going in there. I heard it was basically like just one big street with people trying to sell you a mixtape. That's what people were telling me. Men's were being like, yo, I went down there and this guy tried to like sell me a CD that was like, you know, on a like a blank disc. On a blank disc with like Sharpie written, and man's trying to sell it to me for $10. And my boy's like, yo, I had my nicely packaged CD, like shrink wrapped and everything, and I was like, okay, my CD's obviously worth more than yours, but let's trade. And the man turned back to him and was like, all right, $5. Nah, fam. Like, you know, no, like, right? So like, I kind of went in there like I was like hoping for the best, preparing for the worst. That being the worst. That's what you should be doing. Always. It was just, you know, A3C just blew my mind. It was totally like, I went back. I told my boy, I was like, yo, man, I think you should go again. I think you should give it another shot. It was great. You know, made so many connections. Really, actually, that's what kickstarted this new idea that I have about to put in fruition, called the Great Lakes Alliance. Because since I started, I basically, the long and short of it is, my band broke up in 2014. I decided to take a full-time job because I didn't have to go to rehearsals like in the day anymore, so I could do the 9-to-5 bullshit. I hated the 9-to-5 bullshit. Quit that. Went on a road trip. Came back. Started going ham on the promotions. And since I started doing that, we were kind of like, yo, we're gonna service Central Canada. We're gonna service Toronto, obviously, Ottawa, Montreal, even like some smaller subsidiary cities like, London, Ontario, Hamilton, Sudbury, Kingston, right? Like these other cities, Quebec City, right? So that was our goal, and we were like, we went with like in earnest. We were like, we had connections with all these promoters. Like, I've toured Canada. I've been to the Yukon. That is far.
How about how far? For people who don't know, like me, I don't know how far Yukon is.
Far? We were doing stops along the way, and we still, to get to the Yukon, we still did 3 overnight drives.
Well, no, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Let me put it in perspective. To get to Winnipeg from Toronto, which is the nearest city of consequence west of Toronto, it takes longer to get there than it does to drive to Florida.
From here, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. Atlanta is about 15 hours, right?
Yeah.
From Toronto, give or take. It's about 15 hours from Toronto. Winnipeg, 24.
Wait, it's 15 hours?
Atlanta from Toronto, 15 hours, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Driving?
Yeah.
Damn, because from
it's like 17, right?
From New York to ATL is like 12 hours.
12 hours, yeah.
No, actually, nah. Maybe even longer.
I remember I was in Atlanta. Men's from Jersey were saying, it took us like 17 hours.
Yeah, because it's 10 hours, or about 10 to 12 from,
but we
from
shoot
New York.
Down. As soon as we get to Detroit, it's like straight shot down.
Oh, wow. Nah, see, we don't have that. We have to cut. We literally are driving along the East Coast.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Jesus, that's what's up.
Toronto's actually in a pretty unique position.
Yeah, that's dope.
If you're touring, and you're going from the Midwest to the East Coast or vice versa,
you are
wasting your, like, you're not wasting your time, but like you can do, it's easy if you got a show in you are wasting your time. If you got a show in Detroit and Buffalo, you're wasting your time if you stay in America.
Yeah.
So you can either do that, and obviously no offense to Toledo or Cleveland, you can still do Cleveland too. If you cut through Canada, but like you can go around, or you can just shoot straight through from Detroit to Buffalo.
How far is it from here? How far is it from here to like Chicago?
8 hours.
Yo, I don't think I can make. I think from New York to Chicago is like 9 hours from.
I've driven from Chicago to New York.
Yo, man, that's what's up. That's
I mean,
what's
like,
up. You are in a unique area though.
But here's the thing though, and here's the kicker. It's like, it's 8 hours, right? And Detroit's right in the middle, right? So let's use these 3 cities as an example. If I'm from, Detroit, I want to go to Chicago, or I want to go to Toronto. It's the same distance.
Yeah.
But the difference is, I got stuck at a border when I go to Toronto.
Yeah.
Like, or if I, if I'm from Detroit, if I'm an artist from Detroit, I travel 4 hours to go to Chicago, no problem. Do a show, come back. If I'm an artist from, like, say I get a one-off show. If I'm from Toronto and I want to go to Detroit and come back.
Yeah.
Why am I going to Detroit for one night?
Yeah. Keep it pushing.
Like bare questions. Like it's just. It's that much of a pain.
Yeah.
And they can turn you down. Even if you have your P2, your visa,
really,
they'll turn you down. Yeah, it's like it's that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why we're doing this Great Lakes Alliance. That's why I'm going down to the States, building these bridges to facilitate this, because it's not only to benefit Toronto artists, which is obviously a major goal, because we don't get out enough. We're for all intents and purposes, Toronto is an island.
Okay.
Where are you gonna go from here? Like, really and truly, Ottawa, it's decent, Montreal, half of it's French. Okay. So nothing against French people, nothing against Montreal. I love Montreal. Yeah. It's like one of my favorite cities in the world. But the fact of the matter is, like, the markets are the market's different.
It's different, completely different.
Because it's like when you got language barrier there.
Yeah.
It's like, and also they got a huge history steeped in like jazz and electronic music. So when you have those two already, and then you have this language barrier that, like, shit, if you say less words and you rap less, you're probably better off there. It's no surprise that some of the best producers come from Montreal.
Yeah.
Like Lunice,
and it's an untouched sound.
Yeah.
For hip
K
hop.
Tronada. Yeah, like
that's dope.
High Classified. A-Track is from Montreal, dude. Like, trust me. Like, they got great sounds, but I think as a rapper, as an artist, English speaker, you might have to kind of really like blow up somewhere else and kind of make your name there on your own before going there. But Montreal's a beautiful city, man. Everyone's gotta go.
That's kind of like how. That's kind of how it is. Sometimes there's this group. I'll check my email and tell you later. But this group from up here that sends me artists, basically like they are from Africa. They've come here and they do hip hop, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, like, I can put some of your stuff on my site, but I can't put the stuff that isn't in English because my family doesn't know. I mean, and first off, like, you know, you're saying French or whatever, it may be a little bit difficult, but at least you guys have some French some French speakers here.
Right.
Yeah, no one, unless we're talking like Spanish, no one in the States would even remotely care to. So I can't, I would want to, and some of it sounds really good. And it's like,
it's a little binary. It's like, you know, English or not.
and it's silly,
but I mean, hey, you know, like, I feel like that's one really cool thing about Montreal. There's a group called Nomadic Massive. I'll shout them out right now, and they have like. Because Montreal is not just French and English. Let me tell you. They've got a lot of Spanish there, a lot of Arabic.
Okay.
I think Arabic is the third most spoken language in Montreal. And I think Spanish is right there with it too. Italian, a lot of big Italian community, right? With Nomadic Massive, if you like listen to some of their stuff, they have like 4 languages on the same damn track. 4 or 5 languages.
That's fire.
They'll be speaking like Swahili.
That's fine.
Actually, not Swahili. actual Swahili, like on the track. And then they got French, English, Arabic, like Spanish. Like this, you know, they got like it's really cool. They for a Toronto artist to go to Montreal, the language might be a barrier, but in Montreal, language is not a barrier. Language is like they embrace it.
That's
so I feel like that's what's beautiful about Montreal. It's kind of like, again, like, you know, double-edged sword thing. It's beautiful about it. But if you're not like, you know, if you're only speaking English, you might have a harder time busting through. You know,
exactly.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe we just need to be linking up with different language artists.
Yeah, that's
brainstorming right now.
That's what I was gonna say. No, that's what I was gonna say. You know, like if you're gonna put on the show, like I heard some horror stories about All-Star Weekend here, but if you're gonna put on shows in another country or another area, you need to really be working with people in that area. You know, like if you are English speaking, if you're an English speaking artist, right, you need to have 2 or 3 or 4 people on that bill that speak the language of the people in that area, so they can really understand and get it. Like, you are a feature, you know, like you're the outsider, and that may look good, but can you bring people out? You know, if you gotta align with what's really happening there. Exactly. Unless you're just on some international renown, which, you know, like we're talking about independent artistry right now. Yeah, you know? And that's not. I feel like kind of I don't know what you're talking about with the horror stories. Sorry, what you're referring to, and I don't want this to come across as like shots fired or anything like that. But the thing is, with Toronto, like I said, it's an island. The markets are limited here, right? So we got it, like, you know, Pittsburgh is closer to us than Montreal is. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Like, but nobody knows that because there's a border there. There's a border. It's at the border it's like an invisible line. It's like fucking everything up, right? So because of that fact, there's a lot of people from Toronto that actually migrate to wherever, New York, Atlanta, Chicago, LA. Those are like the 4 main places. Nashville too. Yeah. So those 5 places, Miami too, for that matter. So a lot of people kind of go down there, and also Austin, Texas. Basically any music center in America. Exactly. People from Toronto will be there. So I've seen, and again, not taking shots at anybody, but like people who are putting in a lot of work down there from Toronto, they know people there, right? Yeah. So like when these brands and companies are trying to be like, yo, All-Star's happening, Toronto. Oh, I know you're from Toronto, but take it in. They haven't been in Toronto for years. Mad long. They don't know anything. They don't know what the fuck is going on in Toronto. They're booking these venues that no one's ever heard of. They're like, some of these parties that you saw at All-Star Weekend were empty, and they should not have been. But the reason why they were empty, the reason why that happened was because, you know, you just kind of like say, hey, oh, I know you from Toronto. Yeah, she's cool, or he's cool, or they're cool, whatever, like, right? But like, dog, like, they're not here. They're not exactly. They are not here. Just and being from Toronto doesn't qualify you to put on something in Toronto. No, you need to have you connected to the city. It took Tory Lanez years to finally break through here in his hometown. Yeah. Because, like, I'll tell you, I was in the States last year. I was in the States 2014. Every time I went there, people be name dropping Tory Lanez. And I'd be like, yo, like, I know who Tory Lanez is. A lot of other people in the industry know who he is, but Toronto en masse is not fucking with him. Right? It took until 2016, and I've been seeing him on the scene since like 2009. So, you know, it takes a long time to break through, and a lot of times when Toronto's not, like, the bridges aren't built to connect Toronto to a lot of these markets, which is what we're trying to do. Again, through the Great Lakes Alliance, through the Academy, through the hustle. You know, you were the event on Thursday. Event. I appreciate that. fantastic.
I
And
appreciate
I'm not just saying because you're right in my face. No, I had a good time. Believe me. Jesus Christ, I had a good time.
Right, and I mean, there we had an artist from Cleveland named Ezzy.
Yes,
right?
I'm gonna link up with him when I go back to New York.
That's what's up. Yeah, we were talking, and I met him at A3C. You know. It's
yeah,
like,
you did say that story on stage. That's right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was just there's a little bit of like in everything I do. There's a little bit of like serendipity in it. You know, like I'm not a scholarly dude. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was in school, I was like minds racing in different places and shit like that. Well, I'm not the type of dude to be like meticulously like following like every little thing, right? But if I find it was meant to be. Like, you know, that's how we put on Post Malone just for a show in Toronto. We did that. I heard it. I knew it. I liked it. I was like, let's get this guy. And we were ahead of everybody in Toronto in that way, in that sense of putting on a show with them, right? So,
and that's really important because, you know, I mean, even, you know, from a perspective of branding, like you want to be known as that first one that put them like, yo, like, listen, if you want to find the hottest, newest part, like, believe me, follow me. And I appreciate that. I love that because
for sure.
that's what I strive for as well.
For sure, yeah. I feel like when we do want to be that guy, that group, that
the
plug.
plug.
Yeah, the plug. You know, we do want to be that. We do want to be known as that, and I feel like we have to, as I got that independent ethos. No matter where I go, like I'm an independent artist. That's where I cut my teeth. I started doing open mics and shit like that. Like that's how. Like I just started ground zero, right?
Yeah.
And the same way with the promotions. It's like, yo, I'm not gonna be able to necessarily compete with like some of the bigger promoters like Live Nations. Like we're running on our own pocket money. You know what I'm saying? And it's a full-time thing, like, and it's a full-time, you know, job. So
yes, believe me.
So yeah, so
I've been here since Tuesday. Believe me.
Right. So with that said, it's like kind of like you were talking about competitive edge. It's like where can we help? Like where else what can we do that these guys are not doing?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I'm like, yo, your publicist can take a vacation. Like just chill. We got the press. I'll be like, you want features, you want to work with producers, blah blah blah, all that shit. Like just these connections that we've made. Yeah. I've made as an independent artist. My partners have made in their work in the scene. Like the Academy was actually the name was founded and by Jesse Otake, who's a staple in the scene. He was one of the founders of the Manifesto Festival. Yeah. Oh, I just looked that up yesterday. Say word. And that's dope. Say word. So like, you know, he was one of the founders of that. So he's been in the scene. He was the one who brought John Legend to Toronto for the first time. You know what I'm saying? Like so he's got those types of credentials and yeah, you know, so it's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's and we got a good team around us, but we're a hard-working team, and I feel like that's the competitive advantage. And so when we put on an event and we bring in an artist from out of town, like, you know, Ezzy's not the first artist we've brought in from out of town. We bend backwards for them to make sure that they have a good experience here and they make it worthwhile. Yeah. At the same time, it's about making that exchange, right? So it's like eventually we want to get into booking shows and getting artists from Toronto out through, you know, starting with the Great Lakes. That's the alliance, right? And then we got another whole circuit going from New Orleans up the East Coast to Toronto. So that includes like Philly, New York, all that shit, right? So DC, you know, like it's just when you really look at it, like the world's your oyster, and you know, it takes a little bit of strategy, takes a little bit of planning, a lot of it, a lot of it, But yeah, I feel like that's where it's kind of like in a nutshell. I don't even know if I'm answering your questions anymore.
No, you know, you did. But also on the top of that, like these podcasts are really more so about conversation and, you know, having people hear like what people go through to get where they're at, you know. So it breathes inspiration. Believe me when I say that, it really does.
Coming up on a future episode of the Encore Radio Show.
Yo, what's up? My name is Justin Rose. You're now tuned in to the Encore Radio Show. Shit with Mickey Fags. Yeah. And I think the Mickey Fags shit kind of like, it helped a lot of the shit. And then I think Mickey was the first nigga that I could think about outside of my artists. Mickey was the first nigga that Mickey let me do mad things, I can't lie. Not let me, but you know what I'm saying? Like as a producer, like he was the first person that let me do, like be on the hook of a song that I produced. And he was letting me do a bunch of alternative shit, which was kind of cool. Because I'm a big NERD fan. So I was doing mad hip-hop shit, but, like, I would have, like, all this alternative, like, type of rock shit. And he was the first nigga that let me do it. And you know what I'm saying? Like, so shout out to Mickey for doing that, man.
So let's talk. So you just talked about the academy a little bit or whatnot, whatever, and your involvement with the brand. And so let's talk about the Hustle Showcase. Like, give me the history on that itself.
Yeah, the Hustle Showcase. It's our flagship event.
Okay.
We do it every single month. We've not missed a beat. You know, knock on wood.
Knock on wood. Yeah.
Since we launched in January of last year, so we just did our 14th edition. We got our 15th one coming up in March.
With Nitty Scott. That's when I was like, yeah. So
that's
I'm from Brooklyn.
That's actually something different. We that's the we do other shows as well. So the Hustle is like our main squeeze, if you will. The Hustle is more of a showcase. We're trying to put a spotlight on up and coming artists, buzz acts.
Yes.
Some great Toronto talent that we've had on that stage are the Extremities. They were the first ones, and Fresh Kills. He was actually in attendance last night, the other night.
Yeah.
Fresh Kills is this amazing NPC player. He's toured the States like more times than he can remember.
Yeah.
He's touring Europe, like all over the place, all over the map. There
you go.
So he's this incredible NPC player. We had him in his band, NPC, DJ, saxophone, vocals, like
magic.
Yeah, magic. You know, so we had that, and it was actually at a venue called The Piston, which is right down the street from where we're at right now.
Okay.
But so we had that for the first year. Now we've moved on to a bigger and better venue called the Drake Hotel.
The Drake Hotel. Yep.
No relation.
You know what? Doesn't even matter. It's gonna happen. It would happen anyway. People would assume that. I assumed that when I first got there. I was like, well, this. I'm like, isn't this some shit?
No relation. Yeah, no relation whatsoever. Actually predates Drake's
everything.
Yeah, but like, I mean, you know, like it's a showcase for up and coming artists.
What are some artists you personally think are the next to rise from Canada? I don't want to just put it to Toronto. Like, what do you think? Who are some artists you think are the next to rise from?
Next to rise from Canada? Yeah. Damn, there's so many. Like, let's start with Toronto, just because that's the one I'm most familiar with. Is Jacoy, who used to be known as a rapper as Raheem, and he used to up and started singing, and people were like, "Dog, you are an amazing singer. What the fuck? Like, why didn't you just start with this?"
Yeah.
Right? Like, so Jacoy, Daniel Caesar is buzzing hard. He's kind of like seen as a Frank Ocean type.
Okay.
Roy Woods on that OVO.
Yeah, familiar with him. Yep.
Like, Roy Woods is like, the way I describe him is, when The Weeknd came out, we were all like, it sounds like Michael. When Roy Woods came out, we're like, yo, no, The Weeknd's The Weeknd. This guy sounds like Michael.
Okay,
so
perfect.
That's that shit that Roy Woods is on. We got some Devontae just put out a great album, District Vibe. It's got a Joey Badass feature on it.
Yes. Another Brooklynite. Bless.
And dog, I swear to God, you guys gotta check some of your fucking own, because I heard a song from a New York rapper. I don't even know what his name is, but I wouldn't want to give him light anyway.
Yeah.
And that flow, all of my wolves, they got baritons. Yo, I swear to God.
Panda. I'm Designer.
No. That's Devontae, first of all. But no, I'm not talking about Designer. Somebody else. Some rapper. Not a trapper.
Okay.
No offense to Designer. Like, but I'm not gonna lie. We all heard that in the studio, and we were like, "Yo, is that Future or is that Future?"
Believe me when I said that we all thought the same thing in New York. Don't worry. We all thought the same thing.
I saw this great meme with the, "I can't believe it's not Butter," and it's, "I can't believe it's not Future," and it's like a picture of Designer. It's amazing.
Yeah, we thought the same exact thing. Believe me.
So I heard this one rapper, I don't even know his name, but like he jacked that flow. All of my woes, they got like he was saying like all of my he even said all of my probably, I think it was like the N word. I can't say it. I'm perfect.
Yeah, fair enough.
All of my got like dog, come on, like that's Toronto. You just stop, like, you know. But I think I'm actually not even mad. I'm flattered.
Yeah,
because
there
it used
you go.
to be like Toronto was jacking New York.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, yo, everyone's jacking Toronto.
Yeah.
This is awesome. This is
yeah,
really
so
cool.
it's flattering, believe me.
So Devontae, he's on there. Back to the topic at hand. A lot of females really doing their thing. Layla Hendrix, she's a dope Somali Canadian rapper. I feel like she's really putting in some good work right now, and she's going to be featured at the next Hustle March 31st at the Drake Hotel. If anyone from Toronto's listening, come through. reach, as we say.
Yes, absolutely.
Reach through. And again, kind of going back to what we were talking about before about like, you know, the influence of our cultures and all that stuff. Like she definitely, you listen to her and like a lot of these, there's a big Somali community in Toronto. And they listen to a lot of these rappers, a lot of them coming up, and they definitely, you hear it. You hear a lot of like, even like, you know, North African, Middle Eastern vibes, like Arabic influence in their music. Like even if it's the melodies and all that shit. Like, so like, you know, you hear the Persian poetry in my stuff. You hear like those Arabic melodies in hers. You know, you hear like my producer is Jamaican. He's Chinese. No, he's half Chinese Jamaican. Okay. And the other half is Burmese.
Dope. So, wow.
You know, that's why his beats are so fucked up. He's all over the map, right? So Layla Hendrix is definitely doing it. I gotta shout out some really close fam to me. These are people I've believed in for a long time, and if they're gonna blow. They're gonna blow for sure. Phoenix Pagliacci, she's a dope rapper and a singer. She can do it all. Tremaine from Stay Out Late. Yeah. This is my blood brother, you know, like not really. I'm not even part of this crew, but like we were in Atlanta together and we were like brodies for that whole week for A3C. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm so thankful that he was there because I'm a lone wolf. I'm definitely
I'm the same way.
I'm a connector, but I'm also a lone wolf. So like I don't really have like much affiliation. So being a producer, and you know, even then, like I might go a couple weeks out without even like going to the studio or whatever. I'll be busy doing other musical endeavors, right? But yeah, so like with Tremaine, you know, he's definitely up to some real good shit. LC the artist, he was actually Phoenix and LC were both on the Sway freestyles that you can catch me on. They were on part 1, I was on part 2. LC is doing a lot of good shit. Like if you're listening from NorCal, you should check out LC the artist, because I actually got a chance to sneak peek his new album, and I thought, yo, this is San Fran right here. Like I just closed my eyes and I went there.
I love sneak peeks.
I'm on Fisherman's Wharf right now. I'm biking. I'm riding a bike along Fisherman's Wharf. I'm at the Golden Gate Bridge. I see a seal.
Oh my god.
But that's his vibe, you know. So shout out all them. And yeah, as far as I don't really know what's going on outside of Toronto.
That's fair. Listen,
Montreal's got this dope singer. Her name's I don't know how you pronounce it. Nadia or Nade. Okay. Naadei. Nade. I don't know. She dropped a track with a Future, not Future. Sorry, a 2 Chainz like feature on it.
Really? Okay.
Produced by High Classified. Yeah.
Yo, when I see things like that and it's an artist that I've never heard of before, I'm like, wait a minute.
How she get 2 Chainz on the track?
See,
but she's been grinding. She was out in Miami. She moved to Miami just to like work on music. And shit.
That's beautiful. And that's beautiful.
Her she's got like, it sounds different because she's French, and you could just tell by listening to her. It's like she's got like that French accent even when she sings. But she sings in English, so it's like it's cool. It's different. You want different, right?
Yeah, you know, that's why I was when Rihanna came out at first, I was really disappointed that you couldn't really hear her Bayesian accent, but as her career progressed, you start to hear it a lot more, and I'm like, thank you, because you could have. I mean, if I close my eyes and I'm listening to you, I don't want you to sound like Sierra or Beyonce, or not, because both of the not Sierra, but Beyonce is a really good singer by itself, you know. Yes. But in general, like I want you to sound like you. Please be you. Different is good. And I mean, when she came out, not so much. Now, absolutely. Right. So I'm definitely here for that.
Work is definitely a great example of that.
Yeah.
Like I just hear that and I'm like, this is. I love it that it's like this is like a fuck you to the industry.
Yes, it is.
Like we're not gonna do
the whole album is just like that.
We're not gonna do anything Western or like whatever Americanized. We're gonna do us.
Yeah, the whole project is like that, man. The whole project, Jesus. Okay, so let's run through a couple things here.
Yeah.
So let's talk about OVO for 1 second.
Sure.
So I understand the politics of the OVO brand and its connection to Toronto, so I will tread very lightly here. But OVO obviously helps the city and its artists in terms of visibility and exposure.
Yeah.
You know, it's undeniable that. Yeah. Say this would have happened, you know, like the Toronto scene would have been bubbling and would have blown up in 10 years. Yeah. OVO sped that up. Drake and himself sped that up. He's a generational occurrence. Yeah. So, you know, I believe that, and I'm here for that. Yeah. Do you think that OVO hurts the city at the same time? Like, does it suffocate it? Does it bubble things? Like, talk about it.
I don't think it hurts the city, man. I think it's just like, here's the thing: artists can't lose sight of the bigger picture.
Okay.
In Toronto, unfortunately, us being in this quote-unquote island, kind of being separated from the rest of the world, literally, you gotta get a passport to go anywhere of consequence.
Yeah. Yes.
No offense to Ottawa or Montreal. I love Montreal. Again, we already talked about this.
Yeah,
I'm
we
not gonna
did.
go back to it.
Yeah.
But, there's definitely this big fish in a small pond mentality. So I believe that problem that an OVO could cause is if you get that cosign, it's very easy to get gassed up. It's very easy to lose sight of like what's really important.
Yeah.
And what's really important is capitalizing on your local buzz and going somewhere else with it. Like Jazz Cartier, who's blowing up from Toronto.
Shout out to him.
Can't believe I didn't mention him.
Hotel Paranoia was fire.
So Jazz Cartier, I mean, he did it without an OVO affiliation, so you don't need OVO. He's doing it without OVO, and I feel like in the interviews I've seen from him, he's definitely a subscriber to that belief that local fame is a killer.
Yeah,
we've seen it before OVO. We've seen it like we've had a hip hop radio station for 15 years now.
15 years, yep.
Right? Like, actually, you could argue we only had it for about 10 years, and then it got bought out by a mega corporation, and now it's kind of it's waste now.
Like New York.
Nobody.
Like New York.
You know what? No, not like New York. I'm telling you, man. You guys don't know. Like, you guys don't shit talk Hot 97 and Power Power. Like, don't do that. Like,
really?
Come to Toronto, listen to our radio shit, and fucking you like honestly. When I go to the States and I listen to I listen to land radio on the States, in the States.
Yeah.
I listen to land radio in the States. I come back and I listen to land radio in Toronto. I want to crash my car.
Seriously?
Dog.
That is our biggest issue right now because
it's not even comparable.
Yeah, but see the thing is that so only from my perspective, right? Only two companies basically own like 90% of all the radio stations in New York. I mean, in the country.
States,
yeah, right.
That's why you gotta listen to PRI, man, or not NPR.
What I do, what I try to do. I mean, because I don't own a radio. I'm always in the train, so I'm away from that stuff. But when I do get in the car, those random moments, or whatever, and I listen to stuff, and I'm like, all right, so I've been in the car for 45 minutes, and I've heard the same song 3 times.
Yes.
That can't happen.
Yes.
That can't happen.
Right.
There's so much music in the world. That cannot happen. Like, you can't tell. So, but for them, it's all about metrics and numbers and stuff, whatever.
Right.
And I understand it's a business.
Yeah.
But if we're in New York, and I mean, I'm not a Troy Ave fan by any imagination, but if we're in New York and Troy Ave doesn't get played, how? If Joey, I swear to God, I might have heard Joey Badass on the radio like 4 times.
Yeah, for sure.
So that hurt. That's what makes us upset. Whatever.
It's
Because if you go to Cali, you go to Atlanta or Texas, you hear them.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not gonna support land radio. I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah.
But I do feel like kind of going back to there's got to be some kind of like a standard, this and that. Like things fall in line from there. Your land radio will do its job, which is play the mainstream shit, right?
For the casual fan.
Yeah, play that shit. Whatever. Like, and frankly, I have heard Troy Ave on Hot, and I have heard J. Cole on Hot and like stuff like that. And like when it's popping. Yeah. In Toronto, it's more like they might wait a bit, see if it cracks. We also have these CanCon rules, which are like you have to play 35% Canadian music,
I heard about that yesterday.
Which is a good idea in theory, but it gets hijacked. And then instead of playing like a Tory Lanez song, they'll play a Tinashe song, but the Drake remix, because that counts as Canadian content, right? So like, so that's kind of bullshit right there. But I feel like your land radio does its job. Play the mainstream shit, play the hot shit, play the trap shit, play it, right? Is the real fan going to really want all that? No, nope, they're not. But when you do that, when you do your job, then everything else can fall in line. Then the real fan can start looking other places for other music. Instead, what we have in Toronto is that the radio does not do its job. Yeah. They have this bootleg definition of what they should be playing. Yeah. They're kind of just like stuck in this like, oh, you know what sells? 90s hip hop. So they're like, it sounds like some white folks got together in a boardroom and were like, oh man, I heard this Biggie compilation, this Bad Boy compilation. It's good, eh? That's what it sounds like to me. And they just start playing that shit. Like do your job. Play what's hot, like play that shit so that the casual fan, The casual fan can get that, and the more in-depth hip hop fan can start digging for underground stuff.
Yeah.
Instead, you have the real fan digging for mainstream stuff. You go to a club, that's the only place you can hear "I'm in love with the Coco." That's a bad thing. That's a wrong thing, because the club should not be playing that shit. The club should be playing like the Sangos. The club should be playing the Jazz Cartiers. Is supporting no, fuck it. The radio should be playing Jazz Cartier. The radio should be playing Tory Lanez. I was in LA when If You're Reading This dropped. They played the whole album front to back. I was there in the car listening to it on power. I asked people in Toronto, I was like, did they do that here? And they're like, no. No.
Nah.
They pulled up Legend 4 times. They started playing it. Pull up, pull up, pull up. Started playing. I thought I was in Toronto. And I was in LA. I thought I was in Toronto. And out here in Toronto, what are they playing? They're playing I'll Be Missing You. You know what I'm missing? I'm missing some kind of real fucking structure in the Toronto music scene. And it's like, again, I'm not condoning land radio. I don't listen to it myself. I prefer my SoundCloud stream.
Oh man, there you go.
Sorry, fuck all you pay to play streaming services. I got SoundCloud.
Facts.
SoundCloud. Facts only. I got SoundCloud. Like, thank you. And SoundCloud is like, I love SoundCloud for the same reason I love Twitter. I can control what I get.
Yeah.
If I don't like you on Twitter, I will unfollow you. I have no qualms about that.
Yeah.
If you're just destroying my timeline with nonsense, I will unfollow you straight up. And again, like, if you play good music, if you repost good tracks on your SoundCloud, I will follow you. And then I will just play my stream, and I'll be like, I'll be put on to stuff. Yeah. I get put on to music all the time that way. All the time. So, I'm not condoning, like, I'm not saying, like, you got to listen to land radio, but I do feel, and this is my personal opinion, but I do feel like they got a job to do, and they got to do that job for everything, for all the ducks to fall in line.
Yeah. You see, the funny thing with what you said is that I'm pretty similar. So my show would not have existed if I felt like land radio was doing their job. Right. So I'm glad, like I said this a little while ago. I was like, honestly, like, I'm glad that they were not doing what I was looking for, because it gave me an avenue to do what I do now. Right. So it's perfect. It's perfect. I wanted, for a long time, I was really mad at that whole the 187 team, Ebro, and all of that. I was like, nah. The other day I gave Ebro, I was like, you know what? Shout out to you, because without you, I wouldn't be doing this. I would not be in Toronto right now at all. I'd be stuck in a cubicle.
And I mean, and let's also thank technology for that too, because it's
absolutely
all, an outlet and all a way, a means to get our stuff out there. Because, and at the same time, like, land radio is becoming more irrelevant, and their lists are getting shorter and more restricted. It's like the casual music fan today, probably, I don't know the numbers, but they probably know less music than the casual music fan did 20 years ago.
Facts. That's absolute facts. Believe me, that's an absolute fact. Like, I won't even go into that. I won't even go into that. So
yet we have technology which is accessible on so many different levels, down to the creative level, where you can make a beat on your iPhone, or like your BlackBerry, whatever. You can do that stuff. So you have more music being created, more being proliferated, a bigger need for music because there's more customers around the world globally. Yet the mainstream is only stuck on, like, 3 things, because they just want the safe thing, because all the technology has also taken all the money out of the industry. So it's like, if they're not investing in something safe, they don't want it. So, with that said, like, yes, they got to do their job, but at the same time, and their job is to play that mainstream bullshit. But
facts.
Like, dude, I'm in LA. I was in LA another occasion in September 2014. They were playing the McCone and Drake song.
Okay.
They weren't playing that shit in Toronto. They were still playing shit from, like, fucking what?
So you can't be outdated, for Christ's sake. Like, you cannot be outdated. You can't be outdated, man.
That's their whole MO was being outdated. Their whole MO was like, let's make sure this sticks.
That is their business plan.
Let's give it 10 years. If it's still relevant in 10 years, we're gonna play it now. 10 years later. Crazy, man. I remember 2001, Fallen by Alicia Keys was the biggest damn song, and it was like number 1 on 106 and Park over and over again. I think they started playing it in Canada in 2002.
Wow. That's beyond unacceptable.
I'm gonna drop the mic right now.
That's beyond unacceptable. Wow. All right, so let's wrapping this up or whatnot. So let's talk about 2016, man. What plans do you and the brand have scheduled? Like, what festivals will you be participating in or building here and abroad?
The plan is to be everywhere, like all these festivals. Toronto's in a great position as Canada's hub.
Okay.
Because we have many music festivals. Conference style festivals, festival style festivals.
I'll be back for North by Northeast, by the way.
So North by Northeast is one of the conference style festivals.
That, yeah.
Canadian Music Week, you gotta be back for that too.
Okay, when is
That's
that?
in early May.
Okay.
So we're planning on having a presence there. We already got one show confirmed. We're bringing Drum.
Oh, nice.
Cha-cha guy, yeah. So
yeah, I know.
That's May 5th. The Cha-cha guy.
Yeah, not Hotline Bling. The Cha-cha guy.
Yeah,
facts.
So we're bringing him May 5th at Revival, part of Canadian Music Week. We're working on some other shows. We want to launch the Great Lakes Alliance at that event.
Yeah.
So that's our focus right now, festival wise, is Canadian Music Week. But we got some irons in the fire for North by as well, and that's the North by's in June. Manifesto Festival is in September. Hip hop only. Yeah. I would love to build a bridge between Manifesto and A3C.
Yeah.
And kind of have a touring circuit to go down there, get a bus or a van, get a van full of independent Toronto artists, and just stop kind of go down there, right? Like, why not? That's my plan is to my plan for 2016 and beyond is to just start 2016 and start building these circuits, getting these networks of promoters, artists, venues, curators together, and then for 2017 to really just kind of make it a system, make it a machine. All right, cool. Now you go. And so that's the plan, is to connect people from Toronto to the States and abroad to, we got man's like Junior T. He's out in Europe all the time. Relic just did a tour in Australia. He's out in Europe all the time too, as well as Australia. And there's a big music festival in Singapore in May. I don't know. I want to be everywhere. I want to be at A3C again. Yeah. So hopefully this time doing a showcase. I would love that, to bring some of Toronto there. And what I've also found, and this really was nailed home to me while I was at A3C, is that not only are Toronto artists not getting to the States enough, but American artists have this thing about Toronto where I couldn't really put a finger to it before. I was because everyone in Toronto thinks that because of Drake we have this buzz going on, which we do. But I couldn't really put a finger to it. So I realized what it was. It's an intrigue. Americans are intrigued by Toronto, but have, for the most part, never been. Yeah. Or
they
don't go as often, right?
A lot of Americans don't have a passport. So.
Right. There's that thing, too. I just listened to an interview with Saul Williams, and he said 14% of Americans have passports.
Yeah.
Which is insanity.
Yeah.
But it makes sense because y'all can go wherever you want within your own country. We need a passport to go anywhere. Yeah. We want to be warm. What are our options in the winter? Vancouver, no, it still snows over there. So we have to get a passport to get some sun. You guys can just go to Florida.
True.
Right?
Or Texas, or Cali, or wherever.
Or anywhere. North Carolina.
But just by the time I get to Virginia, it's already warm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
right.
So you guys got it good that way. But at the same time, I feel like the crazy thing is Ezzy just came up. He didn't have a passport before he came up.
Oh, okay,
so now he has a passport, and it's I want Toronto to be like that, that gateway to the whole world. It's you never thought about Toronto. If you never thought about Toronto, you probably never thought about Europe.
You definitely haven't.
You probably never thought about Asia. You probably never thought about South America.
That's very true.
Granted, there's high Latino population in America, so maybe they have thought of South America.
They may have thought about it, but they're not envisioning themselves there.
Right. Different story, right? So I feel like there's an opportunity there to get American artists up to Toronto, which honestly it's just not part of the circuit. If you look at a lot of artists touring circuits, it makes no sense because they'll do again, like I said, they'll do Detroit, Buffalo, whatever, all this stuff. No Toronto. They'll do New England, no Montreal. Yeah.
Why even make it? Why even go all the way up there and not hit those places? They're right there.
And then at the same time, they'll do a Canadian tour, which is you're going out west, and then you're going to Winnipeg, and then you're going to Toronto. It's that makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's faster to go from Winnipeg to Toronto if you go through the States.
Yeah, you just need structure. You need the structure.
Yeah,
the structure's not there right now.
I mean, if I'm routing a tour from Winnipeg to Toronto, you know where I'm going on the way? Nowhere in Canada. I'm going to Minneapolis, Milwaukee, Chicago, Detroit, and then Toronto.
People don't know that Minneapolis has a massive hip hop scene. They have no idea.
Shout out to Alan Kingdom.
Yeah, man.
There's great music being made everywhere, and Toronto included. And we want to bring great artists that are making music in the States to Toronto.
Yeah.
and we want to do that vice versa too. So, you know, it's an exchange, really.
Yeah. We can do some things.
We should call it the exchange rate.
Yo, we're gonna do some things, man. So yeah, definitely want to thank you for coming on to the Encore Radio Show. Really appreciate it. Again, at Crossword MC.
Yeah, at Crossword MC, and also at Academy Presents.
Yes.
On Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Website crosswordmc.com.
Crosswordmc.com,
right?
correct.
All right, folks. And we it's Encore Radio Show. Good morning. The Encore Radio Show podcast is an indie creative network production, recorded at Real Life Studios, produced by Lance Huff, and executively produced by Copastetik.